Okay, now I'm going to show you how to draw a stem and leaf plot. So a stem and leaf plot is also a fairly simple plot. There are two parts to the stem and leaf. So you've got what we call the stem. Now if you look at the data above here, all our data is ranging from a few numbers in the 50s, 60s, the 70s, and the 80s up to the 90s. So our stem is going to represent those. So starting with the 50s, so I'm just going to have a 5, not 50, just the 5. 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Alright, then I need to draw a straight line coming down next to my stem, and to the right of that I'm going to have what we call the leaf. So what I need to do is to go through every number or every score in my data set and write it down in my stem and leaf plot. So I'm going to just go along and cross off as I go. So 67, so the 60's there, so I write the 7 on this side. 86, the 8's there, so the 6 is there. 53, 5's there, so the 3 goes there. 67 again, so I've already got one 67. To show that there's another one, I write another 7. 68, again, the 60's there, so I write the 8 here. 71, 79, 64, 60, 55, okay, and so on. Now I'll continue doing that in a second, but what you need to keep in mind is that each column should be lined up. Alright, so it's like you could draw an imaginary line through, and they should all stay underneath each other. Alright, you'll see that in a bit more detail in a minute. So I'm going to pause the recording here, and I'm going to finish off that stem and leaf plot for you. Okay, so I finished off my stem and leaf graph, and as I was saying before, you can see that the numbers all line up nicely there. Alright, that just allows you to see where the data is grouped. If I was to write them not in line like that, then I could end up having the 50s written like something like this. 50, and then 3, 5, 2, 8, 9, and I could write my 60s as in 7, 7, 8, 4, 0, 4, 6, 7, 1, 2, 1, 9, 8. Okay, and now that looks ridiculous, but it also doesn't show you the spread of data and where the data is grouped. Okay, so it's easy to see in my original that there was a big grouping of data in the 60s. So it's important that you set it out correctly. Okay, now that stem and leaf that we've got drawn there is an unordered stem and leaf. So if a question asks you to write an ordered stem and leaf, then you actually need to put the leaf parts on the right here in order. So you have the same stem and leaf sections with the line, but then, whoops, you must order the leaves. Okay, so 40, then we've got 50, and put these in order. So the first one is 2, then 3, 5, 8, 9, 60, we've got a 0, we've got 2 1s, a 2, 2 4s, 6, 3 7s, 2 8s, and a 9. Okay, so that's how we order it. So we'll just quickly finish that off. I'll pause it while I do. Okay, so there's my ordered stem and leaf done. So a couple of key points to remember for stem and leaf. Firstly, you've got the two parts. You've got the stem on the left and the leaf on the right. If it says ordered, then the leaves on the right here must be put in order from smallest to largest. What you can see or identify from a stem and leaf is how the data is grouped. So it's grouped around the 60s. There's a lot more in the 60s. Okay, so that's a simple stem and leaf. There is a more complicated version of the stem and leaf, and that's called a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. Alright, so in a back-to-back stem and leaf plot, we have the stem in the middle, and we have a leaf either side of that stem. Okay, so we use this when we're looking at two different sets of data. So this side I'm going to call leaf A, this side I'm going to call leaf B. Okay, so in this question we're comparing two different brands of batteries. So my smallest number I think is 15. Alright, so my stem has to start with a 1. I'll have a 2, a 3, and a 4. Okay, so looking at brand A, now the left-hand side, or the leaf on the left-hand side, can be a bit confusing because you've got to read it backwards. Alright, so I'm going to try and put these in order right from the beginning. So I've got a 15, then a 16. So I've got a 5, so I read it as 1, 5, so 15. 16, got 17, then I've got 20, 22. Okay, I'm going to continue along like that for brand A. I'll just pause the recording. Okay, so that's brand A done, all put in order. And then you do the same thing for brand B, but obviously the leaf goes on the right this time. So starting with our smallest one, which is 12, 37, 30, sorry, I was doing it ordered, wasn't I? Okay, let's go back and do that in order. So 12, the next one is 18. The next highest is nothing in the 20s, so we jump to the 30s, and we've got a 31 and a 31. Okay, continue like that. Okay, so that's our back-to-back stem and leaf plot completed. As you can see, they're both brand A and brand B are grouped. So brand A is grouped in the 20s. Brand B is also grouped in the 20s. Oh, okay, made a little mistake there. So brand B, all of those numbers there should actually be in the 30s. So that's easy to fix. We'll just select that data. That should all be here in the 30s. Okay, so sorry, brand B is grouped in the 30s. Alright? Okay, so that's a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. So now you can go on and complete the exercises below.